we're not going to keep you here too much longer. We're going to wrap up with just one quick news article. We hinted at it last week, but James Gunn possibly directing Suicide Squad 2 and writing it. Gentlemen, thoughts?
So David Ayer actually went of his way to tweet about this and said that it would be the perfect decision. I think it's because he realized, because I'm pretty sure David Ayer just watched Guardians of the Galaxy when he was directing Suicide Squad and was like, I want to make that. You know, I mean, with a guy like James Gunn on board, let's be real. DC doesn't have a lot of other, like, they can't afford to screw around with James Gunn. James, because like let's look at their track record. The movie that has been the most successful, the most critically acclaimed by DC, by the DCEU, which is a terrible. They was called the DCCU. I don't know why they call it Extended Universe, but Wonder Woman was great. I loved it. It was a great film, and it was a film where Patty Jenkins, she's a great director, and she did a great job. And it doesn't seem like there was a lot of like. Too much intervention from like the studio
until like the last 20 minutes.
Until the last 20 minutes, but I like the last 20 minutes anyway. So I mean, I don't really care. So you have that. We're gonna get Aquaman, and that's looking pretty great.
I will say, Aquaman has me actually really hyped.
Yeah, I'm getting really hyped. Each
trailer I see, I'm like, you know what? This looks way better than any DC movie right now.
I think I'm in the minority there. I don't think Aquaman looks good at all. I see
my whole priorities with there is because like action can be really dodgy with a lot of these films, but this is the first DC film that looks like not only could it potentially, like with Wonder Woman, it was kind of like up in the air, like is it going to be really thematically interesting or not? And I was like, oh man, this has a really great message that's better than most other superhero films I've watched. With Aquaman, I looked at that and I was like, I can't say for sure, kind of like with Wonder Woman, but what I can be sure of is that this has actual good fight choreography that isn't always CG.
The same thing. The thing that they showed off in trailer 2, I know we're getting off topic here, but the thing they showed off in that second trailer for Aquaman is that like one-shot chase sequence through Greece. And I was like, that was actually pretty well shot and well done for DC, considering like they're usually just heavy CG fights with tons of green screen. Not that wasn't using green screen or anything, but like some of it was practical and
overly
some of
reliant on it.
Yeah. Some of it was practical, some of it was CG. Like seeing like the Black Manta suit and his like crew actually wearing practical suits, I was like, oh, thank God.
And some of the quick cuts and shots of him fighting Aquaman were really cool.
Yeah. There is a ton of CG in that trailer though. I went, ooh, especially what the climactic battle might be, which I'm thinking it's like that huge megalodon shark and everything like attacking and whatnot.
Which could be pretty cool.
It will be cool, but it's just like you got to pull back on a few
exactly.
Pull back, don't get too crazy.
A little bit.
But that second trailer was got me so much more hyped.
What got me really hyped about that second trailer was the last shot though of the actual Aquaman suit, and it actually looks pretty good. And I was like, okay.
And an actual trident, not a quindent.
Yeah.
But the whole point of that whole tangent was just to say that when they let directors do their thing, we get good movies. And James Gunn is a great director. So I think that we're in good hands for a good Suicide Squad film.
Just real quick, for those of you who don't know what happened with James Gunn, is that James Gunn, before he directed Guardians of the Galaxy and even Slither, he was this trauma filmmaker. If you don't know what trauma is, it's these very disgusting, grotesque...
Yeah, the trauma films...
Trauma, I'm sorry, not trauma.
There was like a series of videos he made, or at least one. I don't know if I could say this, so you can edit it out if I can. He made fake porn videos.
Okay. Well, he also...
You can edit it out.
He was the screenwriter for the quote-unquote, critically acclaimed film, Romeo and Juliet.
He directed it, too.
Yes, and if you want to watch any if you want to watch all of those films, and also, but in the comfort of knowing that there are people making fun of those films for you, Funhouse on YouTube. They have a great series on Rooster Teeth's website where they watch all of the.
Not Filmhouse.
It's a theater mode. They watch all those. So if you have a Rooster Teeth first, you get like a free trial and stuff like that. It's really just binge it. It's really fun.
I watched Poultrygeist, which is another one, which is like Poltergeist but within a KFC.
Oh, I think I heard about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, like I said, it's grotesque. Like people get like torn apart or like lose limbs or like there's like one where like a guy eats like the most disgusting looking piece of fried chicken. He goes to the bathroom and like rips himself apart, but when he comes out of himself, he's like skinnier. And it's just like it like none of it makes sense. It's just grotesque. It's like Adult Swim humor, but on like miles of cocaine. Yeah, basically, it's like the best way to describe trauma films.
Yeah, and yet, despite all of that actual stuff that probably could have barred him from getting work with Disney in the first place, what set everything into motion with him getting terminated from Disney was a bunch of tweets. So that's how the world works.
It was a bunch of tweets that he made during that period of his life.
Yes.
Tweets that he eventually apologized around 2010 when he was in talks of directing Guardians of the Galaxy or being involved with Disney.
That whole controversy is its own disgusting.
And
it really is.
And if you want to delve into that, I have a podcast where me and my friends Colin Steele and Michael Murguia talk about that. We can
send that my way. I'll link it on.
We'll link it in the description, and you can check it out. You can also subscribe to the channel in case I ever decide to do anything with that channel again.
But yeah, so he apologized for those tweets. You know, Guardians 1 comes out, Guardians 2 comes out, they're hits. Some political stuff happens on Twitter. Won't go into too much, but James Gunn calls out somebody, and everybody goes, well, if you're going to call out him, then we're going to call out you from 2008 on Twitter. And then,
which I think is ridiculous because that's in public. Like, they weren't hidden. They weren't deleted before that.
It is so terrible, too, because I'm in a group chat with a bunch of Marvel fans, and, like, they were talking about how, like, oh, we don't like Dave Bautista anymore because he's supporting that child, what James Gunn was making fun of through his tweets. And I'm like, no, he's not that. It was just tasteless jokes. Tasteless jokes that he has apologized for countless of times.
Yeah.
It got so bad to the point, of course, and you probably saw this petition floating around the internet that every member of the Guardians signed a petition to try and keep him on because it was like, listen, like this man really boosted a lot of careers. 1 for Chris Pratt, 2 for Dave Bautista, and 3, I would even say for the actor for Yondu, Michael Rourke. Yeah, like Rooker, like who, you know, he had Walking Dead, of course, but I mean, this was even bigger than that, I think. And I was just thinking to myself, like, you know, he
was also in Slither.
Oh, that's right. He was in Slither.
It legitimized Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Because it did.
That property.
That movie is a talking raccoon and tree, and it was one of the best Marvel movies.
Exactly. Before that was a film, the Guardians comics were like, even to Marvel standards in the '60s, was like C-list, D-list stuff. Yeah. Like that was their like that was the stuff they put on.
They are a household name that can rival Star Trek and Star Wars.
Yes.
Like that's how much this man brought to Disney. And for him to be scrapped like that, it's understandable how fans felt. They were like, man, you know, Volume 3 now. What the hell's going to happen with that? And, you know, the cast wanted him back and everything. Now, this is a power move.
This is
a big power move from Warner Brothers, and I applaud them for doing it. Because you know what, man? He is the perfect guy for Suicide Squad. I would just say that right now. With his dark humor and with his idea of, like, if he were to come on board with it, he wants to reboot it. Yeah. I'm 100% on board.
Is he going to make it R-rated?
That I don't know.
Probably not.
I still think Warner Brothers wants to keep it PG-13.
But he can still make it work.
He can still make it work. He just take Guardians of the Galaxy, darker humor.
If he did what he did to Guardians of the Galaxy, which was a not well-established comic, and he could do that to a property that's already like had really great iterations to Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah. You have a great blueprint called Batman Assault on Arkham. It's an animated movie, and it's a great animated movie. Take that and just take bits and pieces of it and work it into your own, man. Go on.
No, I mean, that's what I was going to say, is that James, if he could do what he did to Guardians of the Galaxy and do that to Suicide Squad, like, that has potential to surpass Guardians of the Galaxy in terms of quality and potential there.
Oh, yeah.
So this is definitely a next step in his career. This is if all goes well, if DC just kind of lets him do what he needs to do, this could be a new great chapter for Warner Brothers and for DC Comics.
Look, man, I mean, even looking at the picture of the first Suicide Squad cast, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, I would love to see the James Gunn version of these characters, like actually really thought out, developed. Because he'll probably start with a smaller cast than what that film had. I mean, obviously you're gonna have Harley Quinn because you gotta.
Because I don't really want too many. Because
I would say Deadshot has to be another character that you have to bring into the movie.
Maybe I just
I still want Will Smith because I like Will Smith.
The way they're not even certain about recasting at this point.
Yeah, they're not. And it's like even if you were to make the sequel and we got the same characters and it's a sequel from that, I still think it would be a vast improvement.
Because just get rid of Killer Croc though, because he sucked.
Yeah, he sucked and was kind of a racist stereotype.
Yeah, the way this article is talking about it is that it's going to be a complete reimagining of Suicide Squad. It's not a continuation of Suicide Squad 1, I guess we could say at this point. Suicide Squad 2 is essentially Evil Dead 2 to the Evil Dead franchise.
Yeah, you know what? You were talking about that last week where, if you want to really do the Evil Dead 2 remake where it's like you really just remake the first film, but it's a sequel, this is your best shot. Yeah. Just do that. Like, screw Enchantress. Don't even bring her in. Make the Joker the main villain, okay? You want to, redesign the Joker too. Use Joaquin Phoenix if you have to. Do what you got to do to really revamp DC.
I'm one of the few people who will defend because I think the problem with the Jared Leto Jared Leto Joker was the fact that the script he had to work with and the director. Okay, I'm gonna say it because I don't think David Ayer is a good director. Okay. I've heard several times that his the movies he's directed have just been very sort of like.
What's going?
Did you just say Jared Leto might have been a good Joker?
You didn't let me finish.
Go on.
I think that because I thought that there were times where he had a pretty commanding presence on screen. It's just the problem is that you have David Ayer, who's not a. I just don't like his style of directing.
You don't like any of his movies?
You didn't like Fury?
End of Watch or Training? No, he didn't.
It's not so much my own personal experience as much as just what I've heard and some interviews, and it's a whole thing. Okay. But I think that and also the script was terrible. I feel like with a good script, I can't pass too much judgment on him until I see him with a decent script. Okay. And past that, if it's still garbage, I will happily be on the hate Leto train.
Okay, and to your point, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Jared Leto's Joker, I will agree though that there's that whole thing where he said, whether this is true or not, I don't know, but he did say there's enough film in that movie, enough footage where I can just have my own solo movie. Mm-hmm. And it's if you shot that much with the guy and you chose, I think, some of the weakest scenes and barely used him, he's going to come off as a crappy Joker.
Right. Especially
because, once again, I don't think the Joker should have been introduced in that movie because, we really didn't even get a Batman movie yet in the DC universe. Look, man, the whole start to the DC universe was, the most bumpy ride ever.
No, it's trying so hard to play catch up with the MCU.
Yeah.
And that's its weakest. That's why it's failing. Is because
it's trying. Because Man of Steel was pretty good.
And Man of Steel was all right. And then it's just all you got to do is release Wonder Woman next, and I would be like, you know what, they got a solid universe going. Mm-hmm. And then you just make a Batman solo movie, or just release the Aquaman. Build your way to the Justice League. Don't just throw the Justice League out there and be like, all right, there they are, guys, the most iconic superheroes of all time, and didn't make $100 million opening weekend. What?
You have to warm up into it. That's what they had to do with Avengers. That's what they had to do with Guardians. We still barely have made it into cosmic stuff with Marvel, which that's really nerdy, unapologetically nerdy comic book crap that we're getting into
and
now.
We're tapping into it with Infinity War, Doctor Strange, and even the Guardians to some extent.
Yes.
And Captain Marvel coming out very soon.
Oh yeah, no. You have to warm up into it. You have to start with your Iron Mans and your Captain Americas. It's comic booky and campy, but it's not this deep lore in deep space and rewriting how the world works, whereas they're trying to do that right away with Justice League. That's a lot to just throw your audience into.